Well now, here's a thought for the day. In my study of the Epistle of James, the 20th book in the New Testament, I'm confronted by the law of God and the law of instinct. Either the law of God is our rule, or the law of instinct, one or the other. And in my study, I realize that the whole passion in James's book is to show that the law of God is preferred above the law of instinct. But why? Why should the law of instinct be so efficient for brute beasts, but so deficient for human beings? However, there is another question, a prior question, to be asked, and it's this: is the law of instinct really deficient for human beings? I think the whole Western world declares unambiguously that it is not deficient. To live by instinct is the only way to live, to fulfill one's passions and to go the way of one's desires. That, the philosophy of the Western world says, is to live. Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche put it like this: when the instinct of life compels us to act, pleasure proves that the act is right. The animal functions are, in principle, 1,000,000 times more important than all beautiful states and heights of consciousness. However, I come to my original question: why should the law of instinct be so efficient for brute beasts, but so deficient for human beings? And there are two answers that spring to mind to that question. The law of instinct is deficient for us because we are guardians of the world. We read in Genesis chapter 2, then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend it and to keep it. And what is efficient for those who are led is not sufficient for the leaders. And much of the administration of the world is the law of instinct and not the law of God, is self's basic interest, is craven selfishness, is accumulation of all that is supposed to be necessary for our well-being. The vested consciousness of my comfort and my pleasure. That is not efficient for the leaders, and the human race are custodians of the world. We know that all the management of life that is allocated to us is for the good of the world, not our good only, not our good primarily, but for the good of the world. My second answer to the question is this: it is deficient because we are invested with the image of God. We read, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, male and female, so God created them. They are leaders." With profound brilliance, we investigate scientific, psychological, biological, anthropological, social, culturally, historically, racially, spiritually, the meaning of all things. But, and this is the point, the law of instinct draws down the profound brilliance of the mind to itself alone. We have become futile in our thoughts, and our foolish hearts were darkened. Professing ourselves to be wise, we've become fools. We're made to suppose that all our spiritual thoughts are acceptable, and that the very being of God is ridiculous. We have burrowed deep into the law of instinct, rejecting the law of God by the law of instinct. Our whole preoccupation, our analysis, our speculations, our marshalling of facts, our dwelling upon evidences, our inclination, they're all forced down into the physical rather than upward to the spiritual. We have abandoned our high calling and live only for ourselves and for the moment, like brute beasts. In these things we corrupt ourselves, and we let the world, with all its marvel and grace and beauty, go to rack and ruin in our preoccupation with ourselves. And the glory of God is shamed by our behavior. That is the thought. There's a chorus that used to be sung in the old CSSM chorus books. There's a way back to God from the dark paths of sin. There's a door that is open, and you may go in. At Calvary's cross is where you begin when you come as a sinner to Jesus. That's the truth of the gospel. But that's also the necessity of the gospel. Our philosophies have let us down. We have become preoccupied with ourselves, and we have ceased to see that the well-being of the world is with us. And like brute beasts, we live only for ourselves. The great glory of the gospel is also the number one necessity in this broken world. There's a thought. God bless you.